Isle of Wight grain began in the late 1970s and can currently store up to 15,000 tonnes of grain. The facility is constantly being upgraded, and Chris Sprackling, store manager for Isle of Wight grain, told us how farmers become members of the cooperative storage and the benefits it brings.
Isle of Wight Grain's a mutual society owned by its members, so somebody wants to join, they have to buy one share to become a member of the cooperative, which costs them £25, and they have to buy another share in our service company, which costs them £10, so that's £35, and that makes them a member. And then they charge £2 a tonne for the tonnage of grain they need to put through the facility. So if you've got 100 tonne of grain, it costs you £200. That is, we call that a qualification loan, and after 10 years, or if you retire, you get that money back. So after 10 years, it's only cost you £35. But obviously on top of that, there's your drying charges and storage charges that you will get every year for whatever you send down to the store.
What are the benefits of a farmer joining?
Largely, it's the capital cost of trying to have adequate storage on your farm. Some of the bigger farmers are big enough to justify it themselves, but the smaller people, you just couldn't afford to do it. So by joining together, pooling their resources, they can have a fully fledged, up and running grain facility. By putting it together, we can sell 2,000-3,000 tonne lots by ship to further destinations where the prices are higher compared with having to put it in a lorry and take it across the ferry to a UK destination. Ferry is a very expensive way of moving grain. And then there's the little question of blending. Now obviously not everybody produces top-notch stuff, some are over the mark, some are under. To make a loaf of bread you have to have 13% protein in it. You don't get paid any more for having 13.5%, which some people will achieve, but somebody else will only achieve 12.5%. So put the two together, you've got 13% and you've made some extra. And most years we have a surplus which is earned for the members out of blending their grain. Every load that's delivered to the store is sampled on the weighbridge, all the tests are done, and then it is graded. And then the milling wheat, you can have 4 different grades of any variety of milling wheat, so that is assigned to each load, and the members are paid for what they deliver on the weighbridge.
Where does the bulk of the produce get sold? Is it mainly in the UK?
For instance, last year we did nearly 12,000 tonne, 11,500 tonne went from here up to Warburton's Bread in Manchester, and that was a very good contract for all the members. Did very well. So we try and get the growers to emphasise on quality wheats rather than just feed wheat. So we start of every year, starting about now, looking forward to next year, we will be advising them as which varieties we can best sell into what markets, and they will plant accordingly. And it works quite well. They will be buying their seed in June, July for planting in September, October. So obviously in the spring, you've got to, when you haven't cut this year's harvest, you're thinking about 18 months ahead. So it's nearly it's a 2-year cycle really, from when you're deciding what you're going to grow to what you're going to sell. So
How many of the farmers on the island are members?
we had 51 actively producing members this year. I would say over 90% of the grain produced on the island comes through this facility.
And who are the customers of Frontier Grain?
Well, I mentioned Warburton's. They would be Odlum's mills in Ireland. We do a lot through. The rape goes to the oilseed rape. Will go to a crusher, Cargill's in Hull or Liverpool or in London or even over in France. Malting barley goes, where did it go last year? Poland, Gdansk. Biscuit making wheat will go down to Spain, Seville. It tends to go further afield than UK. We don't see UK as our natural market. There's plenty being grown in England. They don't have to cross the water to get to it, so we sort of see Southern Europe and further afield as our destinations.
What are the grains that come through here?
Virtually anything a combine will cut. So wheat, and wheat is not just wheat. There's at least 4 different kinds of wheat we handle. Barley for malting and barley for animal feed, so 2 sorts of barley. Then we have oats, which feed the horses of Scotsman. Oilseed rape, linseed, millet, bird food. We've got 100 tonne of millet came in this year. Peas, beans. I think that's just about it. But what if they can grow it and combine it? It ends up coming down here. So
Yeah.
we've got to be prepared for anything.
How much land is given over to arable farming on the island?
On the island, what did we handle last year? About 32,000 tonnes of grain. So 17,000 acres will be used for growing grain.
And do you think this has changed over the last few years?
Oh, definitely. As dairy farmers have given up, they've turned the land over to arable production. It used to be a fairly good divide. The north side of the island was all grass and dairy, and the southern half would be the vegetables and arable. Now you're seeing people growing cereal crops on the northern side of the island. I mean, a lot of it is too wet, you can't do it, but there's a lot of land that was growing grass for cows is now growing grains.
Right.
But the counter to that is there's an awful lot of land and downland that was growing grains that's now in country stewardships. They get grants to not grow anything on it. That's sort of the public access to land and all this sort of thing. And a lot of the downs, I mean, although it grows good grain, people feel shouldn't be growing grain, and it's far sooner see the downland flowers and things like that. So the farmers are paid money to not grow crops. It suits them.